Strategic Dream. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Multiplying your success one simple step at a time. Chapter 6. Acceleration. When I lived in La Jolla, California, for exercise and a test of will, I would regularly my bike 2 miles straight up Mount Soledad. There are very few things you can do voluntarily that cause more pain and suffering than riding a bike up a steep mountain without stopping. There is a point at which you hit the wall and come face to face with your inner character. Suddenly, all the projections and ideas you had about yourself are stripped away and you're left with the naked truth. Your mind starts inventing all sorts of convenient alibis on why it's okay to stop. It is then when you're faced with one of life's greatest questions. Do you push through the pain and continue on, or will you crack like a walnut and give up? Lance Armstrong was the success cover featured in June 2009. I remember watching Lance during his first Tour de France victory. The Tour had entered the grueling mountain stages of the race. The other riders dismissed Lance because he had never been a renowned climber. During the third mountain ascent throughout freezing rains, mist, and then hail, Lance got separated from his team. He was left fighting the top climbers in the world alone. On the final ascent, 18 miles straight up into the Sentier, after 5.5 hours climbing mountains, every rider was suffering. Each needed to search the depths of his stamina and self definition. Could they endure? It became a test of who could best survive the hardships and find strength to keep going. Who will crack and who wouldn't? With 5 miles to go, Lance was 32 seconds behind the leaders. An eternity while climbing a mountain on a bike. During a curve, Lance stood up and searched ahead until he caught the two leaders, both established world-class climbers, having expended almost everything he had in him. Lance then launched an attack and gained several lengths on the leaders. He later said in his book, "It's not about the bike, my journey back to life." When you open a gap and your competitors don't respond, it tells you something. They're hurting. And when they're hurting, that is when you take them. Completely exhausted, struggling to breathe, his legs and arms burning with fatigue, Lance kept pounding the pedals. Some tired, but no one could catch him. They just didn't have it in them. At the finish line, with fist pumping in the air, the unexpected contender won the stage race and ultimately the Tour de France. In this chapter, I want to talk to you about those moments of truth on how the compound effect can help you break through the new and greater levels of success faster than you imagined possible. When you prepare, practice, study, and consistently put in the required effort, sooner or later you'll be presented with your own moment of truth. In that moment, you will define who you are and who you are becoming. It is in those moments where growth and improvement live. When we either step forward or shrink back. When we climb to the top of the podium and seize the medal, or we continue to applaud silently from the crowd for other victories. We also look at how you can consistently deliver more than people expected, compounding your good fortune even further. Moments of truth. There is a point in every race when a rider encounters his real opponent and understands that it's himself, writes Land in his autobiography. In my most painful moments on the bike, I am at my most curious and I wonder each and every time how I will respond. Will I discover my innermost weaknesses, or will I seek out my innermost strength? When I was in real estate, I hit the wall several times a day. While driving to the expired listing property after just getting plumbed by the last prospect, I'll start conjuring up all sorts of excuses to skip the sales call and head back to the office. While out canvassing a neighborhood, dogs will snarl at me or look like it might start to rain. I'll be in my midst of money time, 5 to 9 cold calling, and frequently get chewed out for interrupting someone's dinner or favorite TV show. I was sure needed to take a break to go to the bathroom or get a glass of water, but instead of quitting, every time I hit on one of those mental and emotional walls, I recognized that my competitors were facing the same challenges. I knew this was another moment that if I kept going, I would be stride ahead of them. These were the defining moments of success and progress. It wasn't difficult, painful, or challenging when I was just running with the herd, just keeping up, but not really getting ahead. It's not getting to the wall that counts, it's what you do after you hit it. Low Holtz, the famous football coach, knew it was what you did after you did your best that created victories. In one game, his team was down 42-0 at halftime. During the halftime break, Lewis showed his team a dramatic highlight reel of second efforts to block, tackle, and recover the ball. He then told the players that they were not on his team because they could give their all on every play. Every player on every team does that. He said they were on his team because of their ability to make that critical extra effort on each play. It's the extra effort after you have done your best that is the difference maker. His team went on to win the game in the second half. This is how you win. Muhammad Ali was one of the greatest fighters of all time, not only because of his speed and agility, but also because of his strategy. On October 30th, 1974, Ali regained his heavyweight championship, besting George Foreman in one of his biggest upsets in boxing history in the Rumble in the Jungle. Almost no one, not even Ali's longtime supporter Howard Cosell, believed the former champion had a chance of winning. Both Joe Frazier and Ken Norton had beaten Ali previously, and George Foreman had knocked both of them out in only the second round. Ali's strategy to take advantage of the younger champion's weakness, his lack of staying power. Ali knew if he could get Foreman to his wall, he could take the advantage. This is when Ali came up with his tactic later termed rope a dope. Ali would lean on the ropes, shielding his face, while Foreman threw hundreds of punches over 7 rounds. By the 8th round, Foreman was exhausted. He was at his will. It was then that Ali dropped the Foreman with a combination of center ring. Hitting the wall isn't an obstacle, it's an opportunity. During Lance Armstrong's second attempt at winning the Tour de France, it was once again time to head into the mountains. The first big climb would be where Lance had experienced a devastating crash earlier that same year, giving him a concussion and breaking his 7th lumbar vertebrae during the wet day in the spring. Now it was raining yet again. Instead of being concerned or hesitant, he said, "This is perfect attacking weather, mainly because I know the others don't like it. I believe that nobody in the world is better at suffering. It's a good day for me." He was right. Lance brought home his second victory. When conditions are great, things are easy. There aren't any distraction. No one is interrupting, temptations aren't luring, and nothing is disturbing your stride. That too is when most everyone does great. It's not until situations are difficult, when problems come up and temptations is great, that you get to prove your worthiness for progress. As Jim Brown would say, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. When you hit the wall in the disciplines, routines, rhythms, and consistency, realize that's when you are separating yourself from the old self, scaling that wall, and finding your new, powerful, triumphant, and victorious self. Multiplying your results. I have an exciting opportunity for you. We've talked about how the simple disciplines and behaviors will compound over time, delivering amazingly powerful results for you. What if you could speed up the process and multiply your results? Would you be interested? I want to show you how a little bit more effort can add exponentially to your outcomes. Let's say your weight training and your program calls you to do 12 repetitions of a certain weight. Now, if you do the 12, you're fulfilling the expectations of your program. Great job. Stay consistent and ultimately you will see the discipline compound into powerful results for you. Yet, if you get to 12, even if you hit your max and you push out another 3 to the 5 reps, your impact on that set will be multiplied several times. You won't just add a few reps to the aggregate of your workout. No, those reps done after you hit your max will multiply your results. You just push through the wall of your max. The previous reps just got you there. The real growth happens with what you do after you're at the wall. Arnold Schwarzenegger made famous a weight training method called a cheating principle. Arnold was a stickler for perfect technique. He contended that once you reach your maximum number of lifts in the perfect form, adjusting your wrist or leaning back to recruit other muscles to assist your working muscles, cheating a little, would allow you to do 5 or 6 more reps, which will significantly improve the results of that set. You can also achieve this by having a workout partner who assists you the last few reps you couldn't have done on your own. If you're a runner, you know the experience. You get to the goal you set for yourself that day and you're feeling the burn. You're at your wall, but you go a little further, a little longer. This, a little longer, is really a massive expansion of your limits. You have multiplied the results of that single run. Take the magic penny we talked about in chapter 1, the one that doubles in value each day, showing you the results of small compounded actions. If you just double that penny one extra time per week during those same 31 days, the compounded penny will result in 171 million instead of 10 million. Again, just extra effort in 4 days and the results was many times greater. That is how the math of doing just a little bit more than expected works. Viewing yourself as your toughest competitors is one of the best ways to multiply your results. Go above and beyond when you hit the wall. Another way to multiply your results is pushing past what others people expect of you, doing more than enough. Beat the expectations. Oprah is famous for using this principle, blasting beyond anyone's expectations with her generosity and ability to live and work in a big way. Do you remember how she launched her 19th season in September 2004? When it comes to Oprah, we know to expect some fanfare, but she blew everyone away. That season opener was all on the media or anyone else talked about for days afterwards. Let's go back in time for a minute. The audience members were selected because their friends and family members had written in saying each of them desperately needed a car. Oprah opened her show by calling 11 people to the stage. She gave every one of them a car, a 2005 Pontiac G6. Then the real surprise. She surpassed everyone's expectations when she distributed gift boxes to the rest of the audience, saying one of the boxes contained a key to the 12th car. But when the audience members opened their boxes, every one of them had a set of keys. She screamed, "Everybody gets a car. Everybody gets a car." While this might be her most famous example, Oprah continued to go beyond our expectations in most everything she does. In other segments, Oprah surprised a 20-year-old girl who had spent years in foster care and a homeless shelter with a 4-year college scholarship and a makeover and $10,000 in clothes. And she gave a family with 8 foster children who were going to be kicked out their home $130,000 to pay and repair their home. Now you might be saying, yeah, but she's Oprah. Of course she can do those things. But the truth is there are plenty of others in Oprah positions. With the finances and the fame, we could do those things, but never venture into the realm of extraordinary. Oprah does. That's what makes her Oprah. Take a lesson from her. You can do more than expected in every aspect of your life. When it was time to propose to my wife, Georgia, I could have done what was expected and met her with her father and asked for his daughter's hand in marriage. Instead, I decided to pay great respect to her father by preparing my speech in Portuguese. I got Georgia's sister to translate what I wanted to say. He understood English well enough, but wasn't entirely comfortable with it. All the way up to Los Angeles and San Diego, I rehearsed the words. I walked through the doors carrying flowers and treats and asked her dad to join us in the living room. I then delivered my memorized speech. Thankfully, he said yes. But I didn't stop there. On the way back and over the next couple of days, I called each one of her five brothers and also asked for their blessings to join the family. Some were easy to convince, others were processed to have me earn it. The point is, she told me later on, one of the most special aspects about how I proposed was how I honored her dad and how I had called every one of her brothers and her sister to teach me Portuguese. That made an act extra special. The result of that extra effort paid exponentially. Stuart Johnson owns the parent company to Success. Video Plus LP Stewart put a lot of money and a 22-year reputation on the line when he decided to acquire Success Magazine. Success.com and the other properties of Success Media during one of the most challenging economies in recent history in a print publishing was being seen as unfavorable. The move in itself was bold and audacious, but then he did even more than could be expected. While the new business enterprise was still finding its legs, translation still operating in the red, and his primary business was taking a couple steps backwards like the rest of the world during the economic tsunami of 2008 and 2009. Stewart launched a non-profit foundation dedicated to kids. If he was going to make a commitment to helping teach the fundamentals of personal development to the world, he wanted to be especially sure that information would reach teenagers. So he launched the Success Foundation. He had the fundamental principles of personal achievement compiled into a book called Success for Teens, and it's distributing it for free through responsible partners and nonprofit organizations to help nurture young minds. Stewart personally funded the administration and management of the Success Foundation, and for the first year, with the help of a good friends, he funded the distribution of more than 1 million books. Today, the number is far greater and growing. Now Stewart was already in for a heavy investment and a big risk without burden of funding the new foundation. But the additional contribution and dedication to the foundation multiplied the statement of his commitment several folds to potential partners, the press, his peers, and his own staff. He was doing far more than expected, and it spoke volumes. Where in life can do more than expected when you hit the wall, or where can you go for wow? It doesn't take a lot of time, a lot of more effort, but the little extra multiplies your results many times over. Whether you're making calls, serving customers, recognizing your team, acknowledging your spouse, going for a run, bench pressing, planning a date night, sharing time with your kids, whatever, what's the little extra you can do that exceeds expectations and accelerates your results? Do the unexpected. I am a contrarian by nature, I know. Tell me what everyone else does, what's the conscious and what's popular, and I will typically do the opposite. If everyone is sagging, I'm gonna sag. To me, what's popular, it's average. It's what's common. Common things deliver common results. The most popular restaurant is McDonald's. The most popular drink is Coca-Cola. The most popular beer is Budweiser. The most popular wine is Francia. Yeah, that stuff that comes in a box. Consume those popular things and you'll be part of the common, average pack. But that's ordinary. There's nothing wrong with ordinary. I just prefer to shoot for extraordinary. For instance, everyone sends Christmas cards, but since everyone does it, it doesn't really have much emotional impact, in my opinion. So I choose to send Thanksgiving cards instead. How many Thanksgiving cards do you get exactly? It makes a statement. And instead of bulk printed computer generated best wishes cards, I handwrite personal sentiments expressing how grateful I am for my relationship with that person and what he or she means to me. Same effort, but a much greater impact. Richard Branson built his career on doing the unexpected. I love to watch him launch a new company. Each stunt is bolder, scarier, and more unexpected than the last. Whether it's flying a hot air balloon around the globe or driving a tank down the Fifth Avenue in New York to introduce virgin cola to the United States, Richard always delivers the unexpected. He could get by with the expected press release, a press conference or two, and some swanky ski party, and call it a day. But instead, he goes for the astonishing. He probably spends as much as, and sometimes even less than, other companies do to launch a product. He just does it in an unexpected style. The wow factor makes a statement and multiplies the impact of his efforts. More often than not, the extra effort doesn't cost that much money or energy. When I was selling real estate, everyone else would call on expired listings, then they came up. Instead, I got in my car and showed up on their doorstep and hand delivered a sold sign. Take this, I'll say when they open the door. You'll need it if you hire me to take over the listing. For the price it took to keep my gas tank full, I immediately and exponentially increased my chances of getting the listing. Recently, Alex, a friend of mine, was up for a big job. He lives in California and a job was in Boston. He was one of the final 12 candidates. They were going to interview local candidates in person, and those who were out of the area via video conferencing. He called me, asking if I knew how to facilitate a web camera video conference. How badly do you want this job? I asked him. It's my dream job, Alex told me. It's everything I spent 45 years preparing to do. Then get on a plane and show up in person, I said. No need, Alex said. They're flying in the final three for a last interview. Listen, I told him. If you want to be in that final three, you should separate yourself by doing the unexpected. Fly across the country on a moment's notice and show up in person. That's how you make a statement. If I set my sight on something, I'm going to ensure success by going all in or all out. I launch what I call shock and awe campaigns. During this same job hunt, I suggest Alex pull out all the stops, attack from every possible front, and do it relentlessly. Research all the decision makers, I told him. Find out their interests, hobbies, kids' hobbies, spouse hobbies, neighbors' hobbies, etc. Send them books, articles, gifts, and other resources that you think they might like. Is it over the top? Heck yes, that's the point. They'll know you're trying to butter them up, but they'll appreciate your gumption and creativity. You'll certainly get their attention and most likely their respect. Then I continue. Research all the people in the organization. Take that list and run it by your entire network to see if they know anyone who might know someone in the organization. Search every name against your LinkedIn database. Find a few people to connect with. Talk with them and ask them to put in a good word for you. Send them gifts, notes, and other things, and ask them to hand deliver these things to the decision maker. Phone, email, fax, text, tweet, Facebook, etc. Then during the process. Could this be overly aggressive? Heck yes, but I have found that you may lose 1 out of 5 for being too aggressively. But you get the other 4. By the way, Alex did not take my advice. He did not get the job. He didn't even get to be in the final 3. I can unequivocally say he was far better choice than the person the organization hired. But Alex failed to make an impression, and it cost him his dream job. I'm on the board of a company that needed a congressman to sign off a piece of legislation that affected whether this company could move forward on an important project. This guy wasn't budging, but because of his actual issues, because of political acts, he was grinding against others who publicly favored the issue. Instead of making any more futile appeals to sway him, I suggest we go above his head and talk to his boss, his wife. He went through our network until one person led us to someone who was friends with his wife. We then waited for her outside following a church service she attended and had her friend introduce us. We explained our important case and cause, which was to build an after school facility in an impoverished neighborhood that would affect the lives of hundreds of children if her husband was supported. Needless to say, he signed on by Tuesday that following week and the company got its project. In our attention deficit, propaganda saturated society, sometimes doing the unexpected is required to get your voice heard. If you have a cause or idea worthy of attention, do what it takes, even the unexpected, to make your case heard. Add a little audacity to your repertoire. See. Do better than expected. Invisible Children, another nonprofit for which I'm board member, helps rescue and recuperate children who have been abducted and made soldiers in northern Uganda and the Congo. To gain awareness for the cause, they stage 100 city events called The Rescue, when more than 800,000 young people camped outside their prominent leaders of their community came to rescue them, those gaining their attention and support. After 4 days, all but one city had been rescued, having people like U.S. Sens Ted Kennedy and John Kerry, Val Kilmer, Christian Bale, and many others show up in 99 other cities. The last city got rescued was Chicago, and it required Oprah. After 6 days, Oprah was a no-show. On the fourth day, they organized a march that went around and round her studio. The next day, they put on a singing and dancing presentation that went on all day and all night. Then, the sixth day, having endured harsh weather and sleeping in the rain, the more than 500 participants surrounded her studio and stood in silence holding a sign starting at 3:30 a.m. That morning, Oprah walked out the doors of Harpo's studio, spoke with the organization's founder, and invited the entire group to participate in a live broadcast segment that morning to her more than 20 million viewers. That attention got Invisible Children on Larry King's Live and 232 other news outlets. To reach a total of more than 65 million people, a bill is currently moving through Congress supporting Invisible Children's efforts to save these children. The organization had already pulled off more than expected with the rescue event, but the little extra gumption and steadfastness to capture that last city and the attention of Oprah gained Invisible Children its biggest advocate to date, multiplying its results many times over. Find the line of expectation and then exceed it, even when it comes to the small stuff, or maybe especially then. Whatever I think the dress standard is going to be for any event, for example, I always choose to go at least one step above it. When I am unsure of my attire, I always err on the side of dressing better than I suppose the occasion calls for. Simple, I know, but it's just one way I try to meet my standard, to always do and be better than expected. When I do keynotes for my large companies, I spend a considerable amount of time preparing, learning about their organizations, products, markets, and their expectations for my talk. My goal is always significantly surpass what they expect, and I do this through tireless preparation. Doing better than expected becomes a big part of your reputation. Your reputation for excellence multiplies your results in the marketplace many times over. I did some work with a CEO whose philosophy was to pay people. including his vendors and suppliers. A few days in advance of the contract commitment, I was always blown away when I received a check on the 27th of the month from him for the next month's payment. When I asked him about it, he said the obvious: it's the same money, but the surprise and goodwill it buys, it's immeasurable. Why wouldn't you? This is one of the reasons why I admire Steve Jobs so much. Of all the sensational people we feature on the cover of Success, Jobs is one of my favorite. Whatever your expectations are about the next Apple product launch, Jobs always has little or a lot of something extra to wow you. In the grand scheme of things, it might be only a minor addition, but even so, it's better than expected and multiplies the impression and response from his customers and depends their loyalty. In a world where most things don't meet expectations, you can significantly accelerate your results and stand out from the pack by doing better than expected. I like the boldness and what Robert Schuller told us in his success feature. I say no idea is worthwhile if it doesn't start with wow. Nordstrom is famous for her standard. When it comes to customer service, they always strive to do better than expected. Nordstrom has been known to take back an item that a customer brought more than a year ago without a receipt, and in some cases purchased at a different store. Why would they do that? Because they know exceeding expectations builds trust and creates customer loyalty. As a result, they developed an extraordinary reputation that continues to attract attention. After all, I'm reminding you of it here. The multiplier keeps growing. I challenge you to adopt these philosophies in your own life. If your daily habits, disciplines, and routines giving a little more time, energy, or thought of your efforts won't just improve your results, it will multiply them. It takes very little extra to be extraordinary in all areas of your life. Look for the multiplier opportunities where you can go a little further, push yourself a little harder, last a little longer, prepare a little better, and deliver a little bit more. Where can you do better and more than expected? When can you do the totally unexpected? Find as many opportunities for wow, and the level and speed of your accomplishments will astonish you and everyone else around you. Put the compound effect to work for you. Summary action steps. Identify the influence the input of media and information is having on your life. Determine what input you need to protect your glass mind from how you are going to keep your glass mind regularly flushed with positive, uplifting, and supportive input. Evaluate your current associations. Who might you need to further your limits, your association? Who you need to completely dissociate from? Strategize ways you will expand your associations. Pick a peak performance partner. Decide when, how, regularly, and what will hold each other accountable to, and what ideas you will expect the others to bring to each conversation. Identify the three areas of your life you are most focused on improving. Find and engage a mentor in each of those areas. Your mentor could be people who have accomplished what you wish to and with whom you have brief conversations. Or they could be the experts who have written down their ideas in books or recorded their ideas on CDs. When you do hit your moments of truth, for example, making prospecting calls, exercising, communicating with your spouse or kids, identify so you know when to push through to find new growth and where you can separate yourself from others and your old self. Find three areas in your life where you can do extra: weightlifting reps, calls, recognition, sentiments of appreciation, etc. Identify three areas in your life where you can beat the expectations. Where and how can you create wow moments? Identify three ways you can do the unexpected. Where can you differentiate from what is common, normal, or expected? Turning your dream into a strategic dream. Dream big. Peace.